Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. Well, Guardians, today we're taking a look at Precipio, the shotgun that drops from Kepler activities, and one of the, honestly, very few weapons I've been excited to review from Edge of Fate. This is, of course, a Void precision frame shotgun, and PvP-wise, it's one of the best in the game. Now, there is some PvE play as well, but shotguns and PvE is a topic I've discussed dozens of times, so we'll only be going over that briefly. And I'm also going to talk about the best places to farm for it and what roles you should be looking out for. And in this video, I'm going to show you how much of a difference higher tier weapons have on your stats, because I was fortunate enough to get a perfect tier 4 roll, and you'll see that the difference in stats is substantial. But jumping into it, starting with PvP, the first thing I'll say is I've been practically begging for a good pellet shotgun in the energy slot that isn't just Matador. Prophet of Doom and Scavenger's Fate came close, but with the nerf closing time received, they're a lot less appealing now, and of course you can't even get Scavenger's Fate anymore unless Xur happens to be feeling generous. For pellet shotguns, pretty much all of our best options are in the kinetic slot, but Precipio has thankfully changed that. Now, given that this is a special weapon, there isn't as much to talk about as on primaries, but jumping right into rolls, for your barrel and magazine, go with barrel shroud and accurized rounds. Then for your masterwork, I would go with handling, but range would be fine as well. From there, again, talking PvP, in the third column you have threat detector, lone wolf, and 1-2 punch. Then in that fourth column, opening shot, slide shot, discord, or potentially swashbuckler. Now overall, my favorite role on this weapon would be either threat detector or lone wolf and opening shot, and this is where I want to get into the difference that higher tier weapons have with stats. Now, if we go with the role I mentioned previously, barrel shroud, accurized rounds, and a handling masterwork, then at lower tiers, namely tiers 1 through 3, your base stats will be 78 range and 61 handling, and those are the two most important stats on a PvP shotgun. But if we look at my role, which is that exact role, but at a tier 4 where I have the barrel and magazine enhanced, I'm now up to 84 range and 76 handling. But even more importantly, if I slap on an enhanced handling mod on there, it takes me up to 76 handling, and yes, of course, you could go with an enhanced range mod for 94 range, but with opening shot on there, I honestly think that's overkill. Now, here's what that means as far as my two favorite PvP roles go. If you go with threat detector and opening shot, both enhanced in this case, then one stack of threat detector takes you to 100 handling plus the scaler, which of course gives this weapon incredibly fast swap speeds. Then enhanced opening shot will give you around 15 or so range, which of course takes you up to 99 range, hence why I think the enhanced range mod is just unnecessary. And of course, you get that beautiful plus 13 aim assist from opening shot, which helps significantly with consistency. So you have essentially max handling and max range, and this is what I would recommend for just general play. However, if you're using a handling exotic such as Ophidians, Dragon Shadow, an exotic class item with Ophidians, so on and so forth, then I would actually swap out threat detector for lone wolf. Lone wolf will boost your ADS speed and, even more importantly, your aim assist by 6 and AE by 16, and those boosts will double if you have no friendlies near you. And I do have a lone wolf opening shot roll, and while it's not a perfect roll or a tier 4, it is extremely consistent with the one-shot kills. So those are my two overall favorite roles for PvP. Other options, of course, would be threat detector or lone wolf with slide shot, or potentially threat detector or lone wolf with discord if you want to try and wipe some teams. There is also 1-2 punch with opening shot, which can be effective against supers or guardians with damage resistance. Blast your opponent with the shotgun, get the melee damage boost from 1-2 punch, and then just network them to death. 1-2 punch might be kind of a funny combo with swash as well. Use 1-2 punch to get an easy shotgun melee kill, and then just fly at people with the damage boost from swashbuckler, provided of course you have a decent amount of special ammo at the time. Now, as far as how this weapon performed, I was extremely impressed overall. Pellet shotguns shotguns, of course, aren't particularly consistent, which is why slugs and fusion rifles are generally more favored these days. But this one was still far more consistent than most pellets I've used, barring kinetic options like Someday or Deadlock, which are about on par. The ability to have high range and high handling made this the perfect weapon for how I typically use shotguns, which is in a more defensive manner, something that almost feels like a requirement given how many brain-dead apes are running at me with shotguns, fusions, and glaives these days. And Precipio was fast and lethal, and it has a very clean weapon model, and as a side note, this is one of very, very few pellet shotguns in the game that actually has a sight. Something that I very much appreciate because it does make landing your pellets easier and more precise, and Astral Horizon is the only other shotgun with an actual sight on it that I can think of. So please, Bungie, give us more pellet shotguns with sights, please. So overall, while slugs and fusions are still king in PvP right now, at least in higher end lobbies, if you do want to use a pellet, then Precipio is an extremely solid option. Now, as far as PvE goes, we're a bit more limited here. I do think there are better overall options, and for a PvE pellet shotgun, I do still generally prefer lightweights or rapid fires just for the more generous ammo economy. But in that third column, you have repulsor brace, reconstruction, 1-2 punch, and proximity power. Then in the fourth column, you've got destabilizing rounds, discord, vorpal, and binary orbit. Now, obviously, you have the destabilizing rounds and repulsor brace combo, always pretty solid in PvE, and a combo we've talked about many different times. Those two perks just have perfect synergy. Get a kill with the shotgun, proc destabilizing rounds, the explosion from destabilizing rounds will make any nearby enemies weak, kill them with the shotgun, and you get an overshield from repulsor brace. Then also 1-2 punch is there in that third column, but given that when I use 1-2 punch shotguns in PvE, it's generally being paired with a melee build, and the primary job of the shotgun is to juice my melee, I'd still rather have a different archetype for this. Now, if proximity power and 1-2 punch could roll together, that might be a different story, but for now, I wouldn't use Precipio for melee builds unless you maybe want 1-2 punch with swash or something like that. Then of course you do have Vorpal on this shotgun, but honestly it's just a perk that I'm not a huge fan of on pellets in PvE. Binary orbit and reconstruction would be pretty solid together, provided you're running the shotgun on a darkness subclass or prismatic, since binary orbit will give you a damage boost from elements opposite of the shotgun, meaning darkness elements in this case. But really, I think my favorite option for PvE here would probably be reconstruction with discord. Reconstruction to overload the mag, and discord to basically just give the weapon infinite ammo in activities with high enemy density. But overall, if you couldn't tell, I'm not particularly excited for this shotgun as a PvE weapon. As a general utility weapon, I'd still rather have a good PvE slug, such as potentially Heritage or Unvoiced, and if I want a shotgun for melee builds, I'd still prefer something like Wastelander or Perfect Paradox. So overall, Precipio is a very strong PvP weapon, but not something I'm personally interested in for PvE. Now, as far as how you can farm it, again, this drops from Kepler activities, and you can attune Kepler gear at the altar in Caldera to increase the chances of a particular piece of gear dropping, which I would absolutely recommend doing if you're looking for this weapon or any other piece from Kepler. Now, the shotgun can drop from story missions, time-lapse missions, weekly story missions, which can drop at a tier above what you typically get if you run it on Mythic, meaning if at your current light level you mostly get tier 3s, then it can drop as a tier 4. Then of course you have the Civ, which is an activity that appears every hour and 40 minutes or so, but genuinely the best place I've found to farm this is what's currently known as the Kepler Loot Cave, which still hasn't been patched, thank God, and if Bungie's smart, they won't patch it at all because it's currently the only efficient place to farm for Kepler loot. And the perfect roll I got dropped for me after around 30 or so minutes of farming the loot cave, and if you need a guide on how to get there, I'll link one in the description. Now, all that being said, I would not prioritize farming this until until you hit light level 350, since at that point you can permanently upgrade your Kepler drops to tier 4, provided you're either doing world activities on mythic difficulty, and yes, this does include farming in the loot cave or running Civ. So is this weapon worth the grind? Yes, absolutely. At least if you're a PvP main, it's a very, very strong weapon, and if nothing else, it's very nice to have a strong energy slot shotgun that isn't Matador. So definitely hit up the loot cave and get one of these, again, at least if you're a PvP main. But that's all from me today, Guardians. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then do me a favor and hit that like button, leave me a comment, and hit that subscribe button with the bell icon. Doing all that makes the cursed YouTube algorithm very happy. And if you found this video helpful, then consider checking the description for my other links, which includes my Twitch, Twitter, and Ko-Fi. For now, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, Guardians.